Alien Covenant, the latest installment of the sci-fi action horror series Alien and sequel to Prometheus. The film opens with a prologue, introducing us to businessman Peter Weyland, who along with his android David speak about philosophical subjects, the meaning of life and creationism. Flash forward to 2140 and the colonization ship Covenant with its crew of 15. They are hurtling towards a new and remote planet where they hope to make the planet habitable. The crew is in stasis and we are introduced to Walter, an upgraded version of the android David that we saw in the prologue. Both androids are identical in appearance. Without warning, a solar burst strikes the ship, causing massive damage. Some of the colonists who are in stasis die due to the malfunctions to their pods that the solar burst caused. The ship's captain, Jake, perishes and is burnt alive in his pod. We're introduced to the main protagonist of this story, Daniels, who was married to the now deceased captain. As the remaining crew clean the wreckage and repair the ship, the crew happen upon a mysterious transmission in the form of a famous song that seems to be originating from a close-by planet. Daniels objects to investigating the source of the transmission, however, she is overruled by the new captain, Oram. The Covenant heads for the planet and deploys a small crew to investigate the planet's surface while the Covenant remains in orbit. The crew descends to the planet, which, much like our own Earth, has mountains, clouds, and lakes. When they land, the crew comments on the similarities to Earth. Someone had planted wheat, and the atmosphere is breathable. As they trek through the forests and vegetation, one of the crew members steps on a plant that releases spores into the air that enters the ear of one of the crew members, called leadwort, unknowing that these small spores will later grow into a horrific nightmare. The crew continues their trek through a dense forest that is strangely devoid of any animals. They eventually come across a giant alien ship, a horseshoe-shaped craft that had appeared to have crashed a long time ago. The crew heads inside the mysterious ship, and they begin to look for clues about its origin and the reason it crashed. Inside of the derelict ship, they find the source of the transmission that sent them to this planet, and with it a dog tag with the name Dr. E. Shaw scribed on it. This is significant for us, the viewer, as this was the name of the protagonist from the film Prometheus, and this ship was likely used as a vessel for escape at the end of that film. Suddenly, Ledward becomes violently sick. Kareen hastily helps him back to the dropship and takes him to the medical bay of the ship. Unknowing the horrors that are about to unfold, Kareen stays in the same room, prepared to help him. Ledwig begins to convulse, shaking violently. Then, without any warning, a creature bursts out of his back and slides onto the floor in a pool of blood. Ledwig's lifeless body flops over the medical table. Faris, who is the pilot of the dropship, locks the door to the medical bay, afraid that the creature may escape. Kareen picks up a knife to defend herself against the creature, but it's no use. The creature is too fast and agile and attacks Kareen. The creature then smashes through the window of the medbay, chasing after Faris. She thinks she has the creature trapped and shoots her gun, missing the creature, but hitting explosive barrels that destroy the ship in a fiery ball. The creature escapes into the vegetation. The crew who are returning back from the derelict ship are carrying Hallet, a member of the crew that was also infected from the spores in the forest. They see their ship engulfed in flames, and at the same moment, Hallet births a second alien creature from his mouth. Both the aliens begin to attack the panicked crew. Walter, the android, loses his hand, saving Daniels, and Anchor is killed by one of the creatures. The crew, armed with guns, kills one of the creatures. They then see a flare being shot into the sky by a hooded figure, which scares the second alien creature away. The remaining members of the crew flee with this figure into a nearby city. Bodies of dead engineers are strewn across the ruined city. A temple stands at the center of the city, whereby the hooded figure reveals himself to be none other than David, the android, from the prologue at the beginning of the film and the film Prometheus. David explains that he and Dr. Shaw were survivors of the ship Prometheus and had traveled to this planet 10 years ago by commandeering the alien ship which the crew found in the forest. David also explains that the alien ship accidentally deployed the black liquid, which wiped out the population of this city and contaminated the planet. He reveals that when the alien ship crashed, it killed Shaw. Walter and David talk further in the temple about their creators and what it's like to create life yourself. David remarks that some of his features as an android were removed, as they were deemed dangerous, and then kills Walter. Due to a storm, the crew on the planet's surface are unable to contact Tennessee, another pilot, and the other crew members that are orbiting the planet. As this is happening, the alien creature that escaped from earlier slips into the temple undetected. The creature sneaks up on Rosenthal and kills her, leaving her decapitated head floating in a pool of water. David tries to communicate with the creature that's feeding on her corpse, but Captain Oram enters and guns down the creature, much to David's dismay. When Oram demands to know what is going on, David leads him to his laboratory, which is a workshop of horrors. David explains that he was trying to engineer life from the black liquid and that he has had many failures. He lures Oram into an egg chamber, which David has created. One of the eggs opens and a facehugger leaps onto Oram's face. David looks on with pride as an alien bursts from Oram's chest. The crew investigates and Lope is attacked by a facehugger. Cole frantically tries to save his friend. He manages to cut off the creature, but as Lope makes his escape, Cole is killed by the alien, which is now fully grown. As this is happening, Daniels confronts David about what really happened to Shaw. David professes his love for Shaw and wanted her to be the mother of these monsters, so out of love he experimented on her, killing her in the process. He also purposefully deployed the canisters containing the black liquid that wiped out the engineer inhabitants of this planet. David then attacks Daniels, flinging her around like a ragdoll, but Walter, who is able to repair himself, comes to her aid. Daniels flees and the two androids fight each other in a violent battle to the death. Lope and Daniels are able to contact Tennessee, and he pilots a cargo transporter to the planet's surface to rescue the two crew members. Walter, who is victorious in his duel with David, also joins them. However, they are pursued by the alien, who is hot on their trail. Daniels battles the vicious alien on the cargo transporter, outwitting her foe by crushing the xenomorph with a crane, all the while trying to keep her balance on the ship, which is struggling to take off. After this frantic battle, the crew, upon returning to the Covenant, prepare for hypersleep. Thinking that their nightmare is over, Daniels and Tennessee find that Lope has been killed by a chest-bursting alien. Immediate panic sets in. The other crew members, Ricks and Upworth, are in the shower, when the alien brutally attacks and murders them. Tennessee and Daniels hatch a plan to try and lure and then corner the alien by funneling the monster into the cargo bay, where they can dispose of it into space. They shut the doors to parts of the ship, successfully manage to lure the alien to the cargo bay. Daniels acts as bait and is chased by the monster. She manages to lure the alien in front of some machinery, which impales the creature, just as the cargo doors open and the vacuum of space sucks out the vehicles that are in the bay. The fight is over and Daniels has once again prevailed. The Covenant sets its course for its original destination, and after a fraught and desperate battle, the crew prepares to return to hypersleep. Walter prepares Daniels for the long journey and is preparing for her stasis, where he slips up and says something that reveals his true identity. He is David. Daniels, powerless to do anything, is induced into the deep sleep of stasis, and her nightmare will continue as she screams in vain. David had cut off his own hand after the battle with Walter and had been impersonating him to fulfill his own evil goals. The film ends with David, who is now alone on the Covenant, regurgitating the embryos of the alien that he managed to smuggle off-world by placing them in cold storage next to the embryos of the humans. David looks upon a room full of colonists who are all in hypersleep, unknowing that they will be victims to his future experiments. He then records an audio log depicting the events of the blast at the start of the film that caused havoc on the Covenant as the reason for Tennessee and Daniel's deaths, as he sets course for a new world, a new nightmare in paradise.